Moving on, it is the issue that the French government has been grappling with for over 2 years, if not more. That's retirement reform. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Francois Bayrou rejected the idea of reverting back to 62 as the basic retirement age. His comments then significantly limit the options for unions and employers that were hoping to negotiate changes to the unpopular pension reform passed back in 2023, which, as a reminder, increased the retirement age to 64. For more on this, France 24's French politics editor Marc Perelman joins me on set. So, Marc, there was supposed to be a meeting to negotiate, potential changes to this law. It looks like that is not going to happen. So how did we get here?
Well, clearly, we've seen blunder after blunder, essentially by the Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou. Let's rewind a bit. He survived a crucial vote for the budget, essentially by saying he was ready to rediscuss this reform that you talked about with the unions, and that he said there would be no taboo, including the legal age of retirement. And this is why, at the time, the socialists did not vote a motion of no confidence against Francois Bayrou, and hence why he is still prime minister today. However, in recent days, he said in a radio interview, and then again before Parliament, that there was no way we could go back to a legal age of retirement at 62. The finances are such in dire straits that there's no way we could go back to this. And the unions are saying, wait a second, you promised that we could discuss everything, including the legal age of retirement. And prior to the discussion that is scheduled to start today, you're already saying we're not going back to 62. So one of the unions, the CGT, already said, we're not participating in this. Another more reformist union, CFDT, said, we're ready to discuss, but not in this framework that was defined. We're going to discuss between people of goodwill, that is, not with the government. So essentially, it means that there will not be a negotiation, because if the Prime Minister closed the door, despite his willingness to say, we need to sit down, there's no real impetus for unions to sit down, because their members will say, wait a second, the Prime Minister already said we're staying at 64 for legal age of retirement. Why should we sit down? So essentially, it's a flop.
So you said that the Socialist Party had made clear that this is something that was allowing them to allow Francois Bayrou to survive. So does this mean now that there's all hope is lost for this reform to happen? And if so, what does that mean for the survival of Bayrou's premiership?
Well, the reform of the reform seems to be going nowhere. And obviously, the budget was already tight. But the recent advocacy by the government to rearm France, against the Russian threat, suddenly there's a need for more spending. And so clearly there will not be more money for the pension system. The left is saying, wait a second, why should we build tanks, buy cannons, and not pay more for the retirement of people who work are their lives in tough conditions? So it could be that the socialists will say, this is a betrayal. You promised us something, Francois Bayrou. Well, next time there's a motion of no confidence, we might pull the trigger and you might be out of power. So it's going to be a very, very difficult time for Francois Bayrou to navigate in the coming weeks. We'll have to see if he can survive, and if the socialists will dare to join the rest of the left and the National Rally to bring him down. But clearly, he's in a very fragile situation. He's been 100 days to the day in power. That's one day more than his predecessor, Michel Barnier. But clearly, it's going to be a very, very fine balancing act for him to perform to stay in Matignon, where the prime ministers work and stay.